Imagine for a second, standing on the blistering hot grass of an NFL training camp in mid-August. You've got this pristine, perfectly diagrammed whiteboard in the facility, mapping out what looks like an absolutely unstoppable march to the playoffs. But out there on the field, the heat is sweltering, the pads are popping, and the reality of football sets in. One moment, everything is flawless. The next, a key player grabs their leg, a crucial veteran isn't suiting up, and suddenly, the entire foundation of your season is literally teetering on the edge of collapse. Look, the Indianapolis Colts are a franchise that knows the trauma of that sudden collapse all too well. I mean, for years now, they have been chasing the ghosts of stability, desperately trying to recapture that commanding, league-altering presence of the Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck eras. Every single offseason is built on this immense promise of a return to power. But the sweat, the sheer unpredictability of August football, it has tested this current roster to its absolute limits. Head coach Shane Steichen isn't just out there running standard drills under the Indiana sun. He is in survival mode, desperately trying to keep a master plan from unraveling before Week 1 even kicks off. What we're looking at today is a story about survival in the modern NFL. It's about high-stakes negotiations operating completely outside the normal boundaries of front office politics. And, as we'll see, it's about a medical update that nearly sent an entire fan base into a state of total mourning. So welcome to this explainer, where we are going to break down exactly what is happening in Indianapolis.
So you really got to ask yourself, how does a mastermind actually build an offense when everything around him feels like chaos? This is the ultimate test for any head coach. Shane Steichen absolutely earned his reputation as an offensive genius by engineering lethal attacks across this league. We all watched him mold Justin Herbert into a Rookie of the Year out in Los Angeles, right? We watched him build an unstoppable Super Bowl-caliber juggernaut around Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. Steichen knows exactly how to maximize talent. But listen, it's one thing to draw up brilliant route concepts in a quiet, air-conditioned film room in May. It is an entirely different beast to piece together a functional, lethal offense when your roster is actively deteriorating on the practice field. The adversity the Colts are facing right now is staggering. Their passing game was on the verge of completely stalling out. Critical pieces were sidelined, and the pressure of this looming 2026 season was mounting by the hour, threatening to dismantle the reputation Steichen has spent years building. How do you construct a highly complex offensive machine when the parts keep going missing?
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our visual roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The Steichen blueprint. 2. Luring Keenan Allen. 3. The Tyler Warren scare. 4. The offensive engine. And finally, 5. The outlook for Daniel Jones.
All right, starting us off with Chapter 1, the Steichen Blueprint.
You have to understand the massive burden Shane Steichen is carrying heading into this season, because the context here is absolutely critical. The Colts are not in a rebuilding phase. They aren't asking the fans for patience. They are in a highly urgent, suffocating win-now window. And in the NFL, we all know windows close violently and without warning. If this blueprint fails, the fallout is going to be devastating for the coaching staff and the front office. And the centerpiece of this entire high-wire act, it's quarterback Daniel Jones. Jones is coming back into the fray after a highly publicized Achilles comeback. Now, the mechanics of returning from a torn Achilles for a quarterback are brutal. It's not just about running again, it is about trusting your base. It's about driving the football, planting that foot violently in the ground while a collapsing pocket of 300-pound defensive linemen closes in around you. The reports from camp have been clear. Jones actually looks really sharp physically. But here's the thing, a sharp quarterback means absolutely nothing if he doesn't have the personnel around him to execute the scheme, and that has been Steichen's nightmare. He is navigating significant early training camp attrition. Players are missing time, the depth chart is constantly shuffling, and the master blueprint that Steichen spent the entire offseason refining is being tested by the harsh reality of injuries. When you're tasked with building a playoff-caliber team, you literally cannot afford to wait for players to heal. You have to adapt, and you have to do it instantly.
Moving right along to Chapter 2, Luring Keenan Allen.
Pointing directly to this slide here, you can see the sheer crisis the Colts were facing. This wide receiver room has been banged up aggressively throughout training camp. This wasn't just a minor speed bump, guys. This was a 5-alarm fire for the coaching staff. Alec Pierce, a guy they desperately need to stretch the field and keep opposing safeties honest, has yet to return to full participation. Actually, reports indicate he hasn't had much participation at all recently. Now combine that massive absence with the glaring, urgent need to replace the production void left by Michael Pittman Jr., we are talking about replacing over 100 targets. We're talking about losing your primary chain mover, the player who literally bails the quarterback out on 3rd and long. Without that presence, you have an offense that was completely lacking in identity on the outside. You simply cannot send Daniel Jones out onto the field in a hyper-competitive AFC without a reliable target who can consistently beat man coverage. Because if receivers can't separate, the quarterback has to hold the ball. And if a quarterback holds the ball behind a recovering Achilles, the season ends before it even begins. The front office knew it, Steichen knew it, and they had to act immediately.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this exact number. $8.32 million. That is the figure the Indianapolis Colts deployed to bring in multiple-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Keenan Allen. In the modern NFL, the veteran receiver market is incredibly volatile. Desperate front offices routinely overpay for aging talent, crippling their salary cap just to field a somewhat functional offense. But an $8.32 million deal for a veteran of Allen's caliber, that is a highly calculated strike. It was essentially an emergency parachute deployed by a front office that recognized their passing game was in dire jeopardy and absolutely refused to let the season slip away in August. But here's the reality of this league. A contract offer is rarely enough to secure a premium, seasoned talent. Veterans like Allen, they have options. They have all the leverage. They have suitors calling from contending teams across the country. So you have to wonder, why did a multi-time Pro Bowler choose to walk into the pressure cooker of Indianapolis, joining a roster that was actively battling a massive injury crisis?
Well, it wasn't just the money that lured Keenan Allen away from those other interested franchises. It was a deep, pre-existing bond that bypassed the entire traditional corporate machinery of the NFL. Just listen to what Allen said here. "Shane's my guy. The way he runs things, he's a genius." This connection stems all the way back to their time together with the Los Angeles Chargers, where Steichen held various roles, including offensive coordinator, and really helped mold the early portion of Allen's spectacular career. But look closer, because the second half of that quote is the most revealing part of this entire saga. It's been a little bit of back and forth, just me and him personally, without the agent. I want to isolate that phrase for a second. Without the agent. In a multi-billion-dollar business that is completely dominated by representatives, contract clauses, cap gurus, and corporate posturing through media insiders, Steichen and Allen stripped all of that away. This was literally a head coach texting a former player directly, man to man, saying, "I need you to come help me run this offense." That level of locker room gravity and profound trust is exceedingly rare. It was a rogue, high-stakes heist of a premium player that completely shifted the trajectory of the Colts offseason.
That brings us to Chapter 3, the Tyler Warren scare.
So, right in the middle of a routine practice, news broke that a budding star had gone down with a groin injury. In the NFL, seeing a key player grab their leg in August instantly triggers this sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach. The word groin literally induces sheer panic. Soft tissue injuries are notoriously devastating because they just linger. A player can spend weeks rehabbing, try to return, only to aggravate it on the very first series and be permanently limited for the rest of the year. The immediate reaction across Indianapolis was pure, unadulterated dread. Flashbacks of derailed seasons and injured stars were playing out in real time. But then, the medical diagnosis came through, and it provided a colossal, franchise-altering sigh of relief. It was an abductor strain, basically a minor issue. As you can see here, it takes minimal time to heal compared to the severe soft tissue tears that end seasons. Reports quickly surfaced that he should be just fine, shouldn't miss much time, and could be back on the field as early as next week. The franchise literally dodged a massive bullet. But to understand the sheer magnitude of that initial panic, you really have to understand exactly who went down.
Which perfectly sets up Chapter 4, the offensive engine.
The player who went down was tight end Tyler Warren. And to understand his value, you just have to look at how analysts and executives view him around the league. Tyler Warren is the straw that stirs the drink for the Colts offense. That's a powerful statement. In Steichen's specific offensive philosophy, the tight end is not just a blocker, and he certainly isn't just a safety valve. He is the skeleton key. He is the exact mechanism that manipulates the linebackers, dictating the entire geometry of the field. By forcing the middle of the defense to react to him, Warren single-handedly opens up the outside lanes for the wide receivers. When you lose the straw, the whole drink goes flat. The scheme loses its primary point of leverage. Warren has quickly established himself as one of the absolute best up-and-coming players on this roster, and his mere presence on the field dictates what opposing defensive coordinators are forced to do on every single snap.
And this slide brilliantly illustrates exactly why he commands so much respect. 76 receptions, 817 receiving yards, 4 receiving touchdowns. These are his dominant numbers from the 2025 season. These are elite metrics for a tight end, numbers that actually earned him the rank of the 5th best tight end in the entire NFL according to a recent ESPN executive poll. Achieving over 800 yards as a tight end in the modern NFL is incredibly difficult. You are constantly dealing with athletic freaks out there, safeties who run like Olympic sprinters and linebackers who hit like freight trains. Yet Warren consistently finds the soft spots, absorbing hits and moving the chains. You do not just easily replace over 800 yards of highly efficient offense. If that abductor strain had been a major tear, the Colts would have lost their most reliable chain mover overnight, drastically altering their entire playbook and leaving their quarterback incredibly exposed.
But listen, it's not just the receiving yards that make Warren the engine, it's the unprecedented versatility he brings to Steichen's blueprint. He brings a true dual-threat value. First off, he is a deadly run blocker, actively opening up massive holes for star running back Jonathan Taylor. Let's paint a picture here. Think about a crucial 3rd and 4 situation. If a defensive coordinator decides to counter the run by putting a big 240-pound heavy linebacker on Warren, Warren's speed allows him to just get vertical up the seam, easily outrunning that bigger defender for a massive gain. But if the defense adjusts and puts a smaller 200-pound safety on him to respect the pass, Warren instantly transforms into a physical enforcer, driving that smaller defender into the dirt to spring Jonathan Taylor loose. And against zone coverage, he consistently wins routes over the middle of the field, finding the exact window between the linebackers and the secondary. This forces defensive coordinators into a permanent state of conflict. You can't double Keenan Allen on the outside if Tyler Warren is shredding you up the middle. His health isn't just a bonus, it is the absolute linchpin of this entire offensive design.
And finally, Chapter 5, the outlook for Daniel Jones.
Because ultimately, everything we've discussed in this explainer today revolves around setting up quarterback Daniel Jones for success. Early in the regular season last year, Tyler Warren became Jones's absolute best friend on the field. When the pocket broke down, when the primary read was covered, Warren was the safety blanket, making incredible contested catches until injuries sent the season sideways. Now think about the real stakes for Daniel Jones here. His entire legacy is on the line. He has faced relentless scrutiny, critics questioning his massive contract, and major doubts about his ability to stay healthy. This season in Indianapolis is his definitive proving ground. He is stepping onto the field looking sharp after an Achilles comeback, sure, but the pressure to perform is absolutely suffocating. If he doesn't produce, the narrative surrounding his career will turn vicious. But Shane Steichen has masterfully navigated the complete chaos of August to build a metaphorical fortress around his quarterback. By dodging that medical bullet on Warren's injury and personally back-channeling a deal for an elite route runner like Keenan Allen, Steichen has ensured that Jones will step onto the field in Week 1 with 2 highly reliable, elite safety blankets. The excuses have been removed, the weapons are in place, now it's time to execute.
So we know the blueprint is brilliant. We know Keenan Allen brings incredible veteran reliability. We know Tyler Warren brings unmatched versatility to the field. But in the ruthless, unforgiving landscape of the NFL, is this combination truly enough to carry Daniel Jones to the playoffs? Have the Colts successfully patched their holes in time, or will the early attrition of training camp ultimately catch up with them when the weather turns freezing cold in December? That is the exact drama we are all about to watch unfold. To ensure you don't miss a single consequence, roster move, or deep dive this season, you need to subscribe to NFL Nexus right now. Hit that like button, drop your opinion in the comments. Seriously, do you think the Colts are playoff bound with this setup? And please support the channel by becoming a member. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we'll see you on the next one.